Let's talk today about how to work on smooth timpani rolls so that you can have a smooth, sustained long tone. So I'm still doing my assistant timpani job at the Met. I've been doing it now for almost 3 years. And right now I'm playing I Puritani, an opera by Bellini. Jason Haheim, one of the principal timpanists, as he was telling me about the part, he said, well, it's Bellini, which means a lot of da-da-dun-dun-dun and a lot of ba-bum, ba-bum. Basically like 35 pages where you just constantly do that. So the funny thing is, it's a lot of really articulate, soft, subdued rhythms that are accompanimental. In most of the movements, what happens is it builds to the end and sort of climaxes with this loud timpani roll. If you choose lightweight, harder sticks, they sound great for the articulate stuff. Then when you play the loud timpani roll, it sounds like I have to work on my smooth timpani roll in order to use the right sticks for the articulate parts, but also to get a smooth sound in the long roll. Let's get your timpani roll sounding awesome right now. I'm going to give you 2 exercises to work on and 4 variables to manipulate, 4 little tweaks to make in your grip and the way that you play. So the first one is just play a long roll, just a literal never-ending roll. The longer you play a roll, the more comfortable your hands are going to get and the more likely that you're going to find a more efficient way to play that roll. If your hands start to get tired and they make a little tweak in order to make the roll easier, that is a good thing. You don't want to like tire your hands out and then like get an injury. So like if it starts to hurt, then stop. Let your hands adjust. So in the second exercise, we're really going to work on the actual stroke and how the stroke is different from 16th notes. So we're just going to play 16th notes and then a roll. Here's the catch. The roll is going to be at the same stroke speed as the 16th notes. So essentially you're just going to be playing continuous 16th notes. One measure is going to be articulate, rhythmic 16th notes, da, 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 and the other measure is going to be smooth, legato, resonant, roll style notes. La, 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 la. Now, while you're playing those 2 exercises, here are some things that you should be thinking about and doing to adjust the sound and the stroke. These are all what I call variables, meaning spectrums, where you can go from one extreme to the other. The first one is roll speed. So timpani is a different instrument than xylophone or snare drum. But basically with both of those, you have to have a lot of notes in order to make a long tone. Snare drum, you play a buzz roll, which is like a ton of notes. Xylophone, you usually play quite a bit faster than you would for any sort of rhythms. With timpani, the sound of each stroke is so long and so resonant that you don't have to play that fast. And you're not trying to line up all the attacks of a roll like a machine gun in order to make a smooth sound. Ignore the attacks, minimize the attacks, and just focus on the resonance of each note. Once the resonance is starting to die out, then you bring in another note in order to sustain that resonance. As you adjust the roll speed from faster to slower, listen to how that affects the hum. Resonances that are layered on top of each other and it's all crushed together, your ear starts going to the attack rather than the resonance, and the resonance actually gets in the way. Whereas if you go too slow, the resonance will start to die away and it'll start to sound like whoa, 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 whoa. For every pitch on every drum, at every tension, there's a different roll speed that essentially makes the resonance sound like a long roll. The second variable you should be playing with is how much are you controlling every stroke. If you're playing 16th notes and you want to make them as articulate as possible, you might hold the stick a little bit more tightly and actually guide the stick from the top of its journey to the bottom where it actually hits the head and back up. Your hand goes along with the stick the entire way. Angle of the stick from top to bottom is the same as the angle of the hand. That is going to be how you're playing the 16th notes, like in exercise 2. But when you transition over to roll, try to actually let the stick whip up and down. Control the stick less with every stroke. The angle that your hand is going to be very little compared to the angle that the stick is actually going. It's going to let the stick bounce on its own. That's going to increase and enhance the resonance versus the other way, which is going to increase and enhance the attack. So from 16ths to rolls, it's going to be complete control and then as little control as possible. The third variable is how close are your sticks together versus how far apart. Usually the way I set my sticks up is each separated and over one lug, or they're together and in between two of the lugs. If they're playing in the exact same spot, basically what happens is each note cancels out the resonance that's happening from the previous stroke. So that's gonna make it more articulate. If you play it in the same place, it's gonna sound like da 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 da. If you bring them apart, each stroke can happen while the other note is still resonating. That's gonna make it more legato and more resonant for the roll. Da 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 da. The fourth and final variable I'm going to talk about is what angle are your sticks actually to the drum head. If you play with the sticks directly parallel to the drum head, it's going to make the most articulate attack that you can. So if you want to play 16th notes, drop your wrist so that it's exactly parallel or as close as possible without getting a rim shot to the drum head. Bum, 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 bum. If you want it to sound like a roll, lift the back of your wrist so that the actual angle of the stick is more angled up. It's not like a 45-degree angle, more like maybe a 30-degree angle. When you're playing those strokes, it's gonna sound more legato because the heads of the mouths are hitting it at an angle and not directly on. So those are the four things for rolls. Find a speed that smooths it out. Let the sticks bounce on their own and don't try to control every stroke. Take the sticks apart so that they're not both together in the middle, and raise the wrists a little bit. That's the start of your roll. And as you work through exercise 1 and 2, focus on those 4 variables and try to find the extremes of the spectrums. How much can you control the stroke? And then how little can you control the stroke? Same with the other variables. When you're working on rolls, you should do this all the time in your warm-up. Work on this stuff for like an hour every day. The more you obsess over this, the more that it's gonna start feeling comfortable and you're gonna get used to it and you're gonna start getting good at it. That's how I think you get good at things, by obsessing over them. Now my question for you is, what sort of exercises are good for you when you're working on rolls? Let me know in the comments how you work on smooth timpani rolls, because I wanna hear from you, and other people who are watching this video wanna hear your ideas too. So talk to me down in the comments, and if you like this video, hit me up with a thumbs up and hit subscribe. What I do in this channel is I obsess about one new topic every week. So I can't wait to get to the next topic. See you next week.